think while it's still legal. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
So why do you think the world's going to be over soon?
Well, as Bill Gates said, we need 3 billion less people. And they really don't give a how we get 3 billion. If we have 3 billion less people, we don't have all these crises that we have right now.
That's where I go back to just enjoy the day, because you can't do shit about it. When there's global elite that have billions and billions and billions that they can buy off governors and judges and presidents, like there's people in control of this world, and I'm not in it. And again, unless you know those people and you're one of them.
And I do.
Well, then you might be in it. But I've never been to a meeting where they're like, all right, we're going to a third of the population, so we have an heir in 100 years.
They don't talk like that. Everything's theoretical, and they put up their PowerPoint presentation and some little skinny, or 2 or 3 little skinny from Stanford, Caltech, and MIT, and Oxford. This is what could happen if this happened and this happened. And somebody in the back of the room will raise their hand, and what are the probabilities of all these things happening at once? Not self-induced. In other words, not caused. They say 0%. And what it's helped along a little. They put it nicer than that. Oh, we can make it happen 1 out of 3 times. Everybody kind of chuckles, but I'd rather be part of that group. That's why I call everybody a meathead.
Well, I am back. So good to be back with you. All right, it's Tuesday, beginning of December, and I got a lot of insights, a lot of things to share. I've done a lot of reading, as you can probably imagine, over the last week. I can't believe it's been a week. How weird. I had a little dental stuff going on yesterday. Sorry about yesterday. I will be doing this Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week. So that was an interesting clip, right? So that was Dan Pena, the billionaire, the same one that said, I wish I would have thought of the climate change hoax because I would have made a fortune off of it. And I have to laugh because he's probably right. But he was one of the billionaires that really called it out. Okay. And basically said, you're an idiot if you believe that even though you can't see it in your entire lifetime, that somehow, some way, there's evidence that man-made climate change is a thing. So you have to give it up for Dan Pena. He's got a filthy mouth. He's kind of a horrible person, but at the same time, the things that he was saying. So there was another clip of Dan Pena, and he's being interviewed by, I think it's Brad Lay. Brad, probably not the smartest guy in the room. I mean, when he's interviewing him, it's interesting to listen to him. Some of the points he makes. And I think Dan Pena was actually getting a little frustrated by being interviewed by him. But at the same time, Dan Pena comes out and he goes, there's going to be a meteor and it's going to strike. It's whether it's man-made, made to look like a meteor, who knows? That was one of the points, though, that Brad was trying to make on his podcast. But it was kind of interesting because he goes, well, they need a third gone. So, 3 billion gone. So a meteor would take care of that, especially in like the New York area, some of the bigger cities. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that he said. So kind of keep that registering on, on the back of your mind. There's so many things I have to talk about. I want to talk about the movie Wicked. I want to talk about another thing that I saw kind of along the same lines as Wicked, not a movie, but something on Facebook that I want to share with you. I want to share with you also today something about money, something about investing, and something that's coming to light right now, which I find a little interesting. So I want to share this with you. Some advice coming out of some of the billionaires, okay, on what to invest in, what they're hyping, okay. Also a little bit on Kissinger, a little bit on the housing market. What else is on my hot sheet? Oh, and food. Some questions about food that I think are kind of tantalizing, kind of interesting as well. So I welcome you today, and also shout out to Cardio Miracle. Loving it. Anyway, I'm just telling you, my husband and I take it all the time, and it is fantastic. It's fantastic. What can I say? Also, I mean, my gosh, talk about health. If you're having like neuropathy and heart palpitations and you don't have any stamina and you're like, there's just so many reasons to take it. I My biggest advice this year is to take Cardio Miracle. Believe it or not, take Cardio Miracle. It's a miracle, and it really is. It's really worth it. And then also remember that allfamilypharmacy.com. I think you might still be able to get in on their BOGO sale. Maybe today's the last day. I'm not sure. I'll have to go check. But allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. And you can get the BOGO sale of the year. And it's 2 for 1. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing. So, okay. Well, let's kind of launch in for just a moment here. So I want to talk about Wicked. And I understand that a lot of people are liking this movie. Me, not so much. It's kind of an interesting one because when you saw the original, this is the second Wicked, okay? And I'm just going to speak for a couple of minutes about this because I'm just going to make a point. When you saw the original Wizard of Oz, now we realize when you look at the author and you kind of know some of the symbolism in Wizard of Oz that he was sort of writing for, okay? So you kind of get what's behind the scenes in the story. At the same time, when you're watching it, you're watching the Wicked Witch of the West die in the end. Oddly enough, I actually played the Wicked Witch of the West in a musical when in my youth. So that's just off the beaten path. But anyway, so you're happy when she dies because she's the evil witch. Okay. She looks evil. She is evil. So therefore you're happy when the water, goes on her and she dies. And then you have Glinda the Good Witch. Okay. So this Wicked series is sort of punching a hole in that. And what they're doing is they're creating this storyline. And this storyline is all about taking a bad character like the Wicked Witch of the West and saying, well, this person is very misunderstood. This person was actually the hero. This person was actually the good person. Okay. And that Glinda in this series is just a little more stupid, maybe a little more played by Ariana Grande, just a little more, how do I say, just a little, just willing to play a part, willing to keep up the lies, willing to do her part, right? But then she's portrayed as the good witch and she kind of likes it. And so you have this interchanging of good and evil. So I understand, I know people love the music and they love the I don't know, the visual aspects of this, whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of the Wicked series. I think that what they're doing is they're taking good and evil, just like they have in the last 10 years. So I've done some shows about this, and they've taken this story and then it's, well, they're misunderstood. Well, the evil guy is really the good guy and the good guy is really the evil guy. So when you're watching series like Mayor of Kingstown, it's filthy language. I don't recommend it, but it's gruesome. But there's lots of series like this, even Landman. Okay. So you have all these different series where the good guy in the series is portrayed as the good guy, although they do a slew of evil crap to justify the means and to say, well, they have to do these things because they're the good guy. So even in Breaking Bad, you have the good guy that turns out to be the bad guy, right? But he's still a good guy at heart, just misunderstood. So all I'm saying is that over the last 10 years, I've been talking about this on the show where they are this interchanging of villain versus good guy, which used to be very black and white. This was a black and white concept. It was very, that you knew who the bad guy was and you knew who the good guy was, right? And now it's so interchangeable. It is so confusing. It's confusing. And it's meant to be. And I see our youth. I look at our poor youth and I'm thinking, as we keep going, you're going to see a lot more of these interchangeable figures, these characters in our lives, these that are these flawed humans, but flawed to the point, not just flawed, okay? Flawed to the point where committing evil and committing acts of evil is just something they are prone to do, something that they just have to do because of the situation upon them. Okay. There was the show, the show with Stallone. What is he, like 100 years old now? But it's like his face like barely moves because of all the Botox. But he's in this series where he goes and instead of being the good guy that walks away from the bad guy and doesn't try to play God or kill the bad guy, he kills the bad guy, burns the bad guy to death, right? And walks away, and the crowd cheers because the bad guy burned somebody to death, so he deserved it. Now, I get deserving, and I understand why people would feel this way to see the bad guy get his in the end. But it used to be in the movies where the good guy would step up to be the character of the good guy and say, you know what, I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to become that. I'm not going to do that, because if I do that, I'm no better than that bad guy. You're not seeing that anymore. And I really hope and pray that our kids can understand the difference and understand that it is being, what is the word? What's a good word for this? I'm at a loss. It's so subject to being confusing that little kids just are going to stumble upon these kinds of characters doing these kinds of things and somehow justify that the means to the end is okay. The Rothschilds came out with that a long time ago. They came out with the means to the end. It was okay, right? I remember interviewing Douglas, Megan's husband, and he wrote the book The Means, right? And it was all about the means to the end. This is a theme that's going to just keep getting worse. And I hate to say that. I mean, we're in Christmas time. Everything's supposed to be great and rosy and fun. I get it. I'd like a relief from all this junk too, but it's going to get a lot more confusing. And that's why I think just honoring God at this point, and honestly, teaching that in your home and teaching how to identify all these confusing thoughts, all these confusing new characters on the stage, all these confusing storylines. We are a product of media, and we love our media. And the thing is if we don't keep identifying these things and keep outing them, then we're going to have even bigger problems, because the youth wants you to out this. They want you to identify what feels off. This is going to be so important in the future, and it is right now. So just kind of bringing that to light. Another thing that I saw, besides the interchanging of good and evil. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering why this is happening, and I really do feel this way, maybe because I'm a spiritual person and I see things as good and evil. As a difference between good and evil is that they will eventually make Satan into being the good guy. He's just misunderstood. He has to do what he did. He sacrificed, he sacrificed for us. They're going to turn it into a storyline like this, and they're going to keep selling it. They already have started doing this, but not so overtly that we're noticing. I think that we're really noticing this. And so I draw your attention to this, because it really truly is about making evil just misunderstood, and that it's okay to do evil things. It's a real justification going on here, but it leads us to think that that Satan is misunderstood. I promise you that this will be a huge theme in our lives over the next 2 decades or decade. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead. Are you there? Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Now I can. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
You hit it, the nail on the head. This is going on everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And why they're doing this, first of all, we have to get really loyal to God.
Yes.
God, it's evil or good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not compromisable.
Right.
And we have to realize that. They've been desensitizing us for murder for a long time in the movies and everywhere, to accept death and justice without any due process. But what this is, I'm confident, is about is desensitizing us to tyranny,
yeah,
to taking away our rights, to killing killing us. That's what's going on out there in the Caribbean, where Trump keeps blowing up these boats all the time. Now he just recently said they went back and blew up a boat that had already blown up, and there were supposedly, this is their report, there were a few that hadn't been murdered, so they came by and killed those people. And Trump said, well, we shouldn't do that, but it was okay to murder them in the first place. All the other ones, there's over 100 people that have died. If you use their reports, it may be way over that, and 21 boats they've blown up. So that's just an example of desensitizing us to tyranny, that the head of state can kill, can rape, can murder, can plunder us, and I think that's what it's all about. Was that's of course evil, and we need to accept that evil. And accept tyranny. Anyway,
well, thank you.
So,
appreciate the call.
Yeah,
Thanks. So some good points. I mean, we're seeing a lot of things played out on the stage that are going to get just even more confusing to us, because you're going to see how we're going to descend into this new world of AI crazy tech. And they're going to do it by selling it to us. So let me talk about that for a moment, because if you missed it, this is kind of another interesting piece to look at. In fact, the show today really is about kind of pieces and things. Okay. And I might carry on tomorrow to talk more about France, because France plays, I think, a bigger piece that, if you really look at history, into kind of interjected into the world stage too. So we'll talk about France a little bit more tomorrow. But I want to talk about money for just a moment, because this was kind of interesting. So there was a big, I don't know if you've noticed it yet in your social media feeds. If you're on social media, maybe you're not, but there's a super big shift in what we're being told as far as coming from a billionaire. How do you pronounce his name? I'm the name murderer. I know I'm going to do it to this name, but James Altucher, right? So he's out there, and he was the one that said Facebook was going to be Facebook. And he's also the one that said you should invest in Amazon early. Okay. Now, when I hear somebody like this say what's coming next, there's a couple of thoughts, because what he's talking about is Starlink. He's saying invest in Starlink. Starlink was basically put forth to even become 100 times bigger than Amazon in the convergence of media. Okay. So he's out there right now really talking about this. I mean, this is a big deal. Okay. So he's out there giving just, on every investor page, saying there's 101 or $111 trillion tech convergence going on right now. And he's saying, just like I said with Amazon, and just like I said with Facebook, had you followed my advice, you would have been a millionaire or billionaire right now, depending on how much money you put in. But this tech investor, Altucher, how do you say his name? Altucher. Anyway, James, he has the weird hair that I think is a wig, but okay. It's like really curly on top. Anyways, he's the tech investor predicting this. Okay. So he's saying, look, there's a huge convergence going on right now. And I took the time to look at some of his stuff, because I'm always interested in why people are doing what they're doing. And why is he out there? My bigger question is, why is he out there telling you about this? Because he seemed to nail the last two. Okay. So he's saying if I'll give you kind of a synopsis, he's saying by the end of January that Starlink's going to go public, and that they were only waiting for a couple of things. Number one, they were waiting to go public because they had to make sure their cash flow was consistent, which Elon already came out and said this. Okay, now you know my thoughts on Elon, because he's a front man, but okay, we'll go there in a second. also, the other piece to this before Starlink were to go public was that they needed to make sure that instead of going remote and carrying around a big router to be able to, go camping and have Starlink, or go up to a mountain and have Starlink, they needed the piece that would deliver it to the phones. Okay. So basically, he's pushing a fund, and this fund is, let me see, DXYZ, right? It's a fund that contains Starlink, because as a normal person out in the world right now, you can't invest in Starlink. But for this fund was like 51% Starlink, because certain investors are allowed to go in and buy into Starlink. So what this fund is it's basically a Palantir fund. It's owned by BlackRock and Palantir and all the big names of all the creepy New World Order engines, right? And that they own this fund, and that you can put money into this fund. And then, of course, there's another piece to this, which is this certain patent number that he gave out. And the patent number led back to a company called AST. That's their 3-digit ticker, okay, for Wall Street was, I think it was AST. So it was like space something. Anyway, so he's saying they have this piece, okay? Now, ChatGPT disagrees with that, and they say, well, Starlink already has this piece, but this guy's out there saying if you invest in either one of these things by the end of January, you could make a lot of money. And so there are a couple of thoughts behind this that I want to share with you. And as I was listening and just kind of trying to understand the insights to why he's out there saying these things. Why would they put a billionaire out on the stage to tell you what's coming next so that you could, make some money? Is it just about that? Is it just about, because his reason for doing it in the video was, and it was a very long video, as you can imagine, because it was a marketing video. So they never, ever really give you the point to the very, very, very end, right? But I wanted, just for you guys, I just wanted to go through it to kind of see what he was going to say. And he goes, oh, I just really want to see all you succeed. Now, I don't actually believe that. Does anybody really believe that? I mean, okay, so you're just out there doing this video. No, of course, he's probably got a stake in DXYZ. I'm, probably. Okay. So keep that in mind. But the other thing was that this was, there's a reason that they want to get you to the point where they want to market and sell you on what's coming, so that you're part of the excitement of what's coming, so that you're not really resistant to it, because you might cash in on it. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit more of trying to make you part of it, just like they did with Amazon, just like they did with Facebook. And it was like, we're not going to tell you the truth about these being front companies for the intelligence agencies, for all kinds of intelligence agencies. What we're going to do is just kind of pretend that these are private organizations that are just doing their thing, but they're really not. They're really not. There's kind of these new, it's almost like these Windows, forgive the pun, from Microsoft Windows, that was a total intelligence racket, but had nothing really to do with Bill Gates. Bill Gates was just the front man. But it's more about introducing these new sort of leaps into more spying apparatuses, but getting you excited about it and getting you to the point where you could say, well, I cashed in on that, or I made money on that, so I'm not as bothered by it. I think that's really more of this than we think. And so what they're doing right now is they're kind of letting the cat out of the bag, and they're saying, hey, this could happen by January, maybe the 30th of January, because there's a big conference coming up. And this guy's out there saying, well, they're going to go public with Starlink, and you better get in on Starlink before that happens, because once it goes public, it's over. Like trying to get in on it is like trying to get in on Bitcoin now, when you could have had Bitcoin back in 2013 and just sat on it and been a multimillionaire by now. So And I'm not saying that I don't regret not getting it on Bitcoin, because I remember doing an interview about Bitcoin back in 2013 and 14. And of course, the thought crossed my mind, and I probably should have, right? Because it could have made a lot of money. But I do find it kind of interesting, this new, if I'm right, this the way that they market it to us to kind of let us in on a wink wink little secret coming, so that you're going to be less scrutinizing of it and a little bit more excited about it. Okay. So they're doing the same thing, honestly, with Gemini, with Google's Gemini. They're rolling it out, and it's basically rolling Gemini out, but also getting you excited about all of the things that they can do with AI. So don't look at how they're going to use it in the future, but just sort of look at the excitement over it. Look at the movies that are using it, like the new Avatar movie that's coming out in December, right, this month. That is like a, wow, it's such a movie experience, and it uses a lot of AI and a lot of tech, and you're just going to love it for the profound experience that it is, instead of saying, this is damn scary, and what they're going to do with it is scary. So there's that. And I wanted to bring that up because I thought, I think there's a lot of reasons they do things, but there's really no reason at all, if you really just think about it logically, for this guy to be out in the middle class America selling, get into this stock because you're about to become a gazillionaire. Now, could it be true that you could make money on this if this happens next and Starlink goes through the roof? And Starlink then is what this guy was saying, is that that Starlink will then absorb all the other front companies like AT&T and Verizon and all these other front companies that are grabbing your data, and it will become one big data grabber. Okay, so all in one. And that they're saying that AT&T, all of those companies become obsolete, and then Starlink becomes the new, sort of like taking it to the new depths of whatever. Okay, so Starlink is also not just about communication. It's probably about a lot more of building the new digital ID, of building all of the new digital components by which we'll be spying on us to the 10th degree. Not that we're not spied on now, but really bringing in this blockchain data world where money isn't exchanged, and where it is you can't get around it at all. Okay, so you're going to try, but it's going to be very difficult unless you just live outside of it completely, and life's going to be not very fun. So they're selling it, but in the same time, they're not really telling you the whole story behind Starlink. And if you think that Elon is behind Starlink, I don't know what to say to you, because I can't imagine at this point thinking that this private guy gets to just go ahead and take all these satellites up. You and I can't own satellite companies. Okay. So this is why it's so important to kind of understand the front men and what they do and how they do it. Because I think we get swept up into what the thing that they're bringing forward is, and not how they're doing it, or the using of these people like Elon and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos as kind of a privatized bait to get you to think that these are private. He's not private, and this is a government operation, is Starlink. So don't ever think that this is a private company that is just absorbing these other private companies. It's not going to work like that. What they're building is something far bigger. Okay. And if this guy's right, what they're doing is building something far bigger to bring it into a bigger scope and a bigger spy net and a bigger blockchain, and setting up the system. So these are kind of the bones of the system going in that make it possible, right, for them to do what they're going to do, possibly. So these are just some of the insights when I was reviewing what he was talking about with investing. And I was thinking, oh, wow, what he's also trying to do too is to get a lot of the wealth going that way, right? So it is about kind of saying, oh, hey, you who don't make any money, this is your chance. Roll the dice, get a hold of as much money as you can and stick it in these stocks and stick it in this place. I'm not saying that you couldn't make money, because even with Bitcoin, you certainly did make money if you got in. Okay. All I'm saying is that there could be more of a bait and switch happening here, just to make sure and absorb all that money toward this. Could be, but could you make money? Maybe so. Maybe so. I don't know. All I know is that it just felt very off, because there was really no reason why this guy would care enough about you and your family to go out there and tell you what the next big thing is, because he's so altruistic, right? So it doesn't even make any sense. So I'm just telling you this because something seemed really off about it. At the same time, maybe you can make a killing. And I hope that you do, because I think that you are patriotic enough and understand enough that maybe you can use that money for good and make a difference. Who knows? So I'm not saying that it isn't true, and I'm sure it will go public. Why wouldn't it? But there's going to be way more reasons behind this than what the public's being told. And it isn't just about having a cell phone hooked up to satellite, and we all have satellite phones. It's going to be about building a much more broader system. But if you can get people excited about that and making money on that, when you eventually, if you were ever going to collapse the system, you would take a lot of people's wealth with it, would you not? So, there's got to be other reasons why he's out there saying what he's saying. So I just want to go there because I don't think a lot of people are talking about that today. I see a lot of, okay, I'll give you an example. There was a show host out there who was talking about, I think it was Benny Johnson. Okay. And he was talking about, and he's supposed to be super conservative, and he's out there going, America's largest media company is run by the CIA. What? Okay. I'm sorry. If you have even an inkling of intelligence at this point, and you are a host of a conservative show, you're already going to know this. This is not a secret. This is not some crazy thing that you do not know about. Okay. So acting like this is such a new thought. Ooh. Yeah. Do you think it might be? So what he was talking about was Wall Street Journal. Okay. And how it could be ran by the CIA. You think? So Time Magazine is, New York Post is, New York Times is, going back all the way to the 50s. You have the Compost, right? So you have all of these, the whole entire media is run by these people, and at the helm, it's run by people of a particular sect that seem to run a lot of things like Hollywood and the government. Okay. So when they come out and when people do this kind of thing, and he came out and was acting like, oh my gosh, what? He even said this: without informing its readers, the Murdoch family is using both sides of its newspaper to continue the war with Russia. That's not the behavior of a news organization. It's the hallmark of an intel agency. Oh, Benny, you're so profound. So this is the kind of crap fest the American public gets to partake in, is my fellow conservative talk show hosts acting like they're just finding this out for the first time, when I know they're not, because I think he's probably owned. So it is kind of ironic to have him come out saying, do you think? Oh, really? Do you think the Wall Street Journal? What? Yeah. I see this all the time with these people, and it just makes me, it makes me kind of ill, to tell you the truth. Because I'm like, they're so part of the system. Okay. They're acting like, how dare I say that, that the CIA might have influence? Do you think, Benny? I mean, my gosh, all the stories go through the Pentagon, you think? So, and have for how many decades? So give me a break. Anyway, so there was that. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's kind of just so ridiculous now. I just don't even know what to say anymore about all this. Oh, it's interesting. Okay. So I want to play some clips for you because I thought these were sort of interesting. I want to play Thomas Massey's clip. This was about January 6th. Remember, I had it out with the FBI dude, what was it, like counterintelligence guy? I don't even know. He wrote some stupid book of lies, but we had it out. Remember when I said this whole thing's a farce, that January 6th, and I lost that particular entity that gave me a lot of interviews. Okay. Because I had it out with him. All right. So, because I disagreed and said it was all completely, what's the word? Infiltrated. So here's Thomas Massey talking about the bombs, the pipe bombs. Here we go.
And then my next question, which elicited the oddest body language I've ever seen in a meeting and no real answer, was, well, so then you went looking for another pipe bomb, right? You found 2 of them within 30 minutes. You must believe the whole place is riddled with them if you're finding them this quickly. And I actually knew part of I watched video of where he went after that. They just kind of wander off. Right. Their job was done. They had found the second pipe bomb. They never looked for a third or a fourth or a fifth pipe bomb. And they didn't have an answer to me for why the search for pipe bombs was over once they found the second pipe bomb. No answer. Weirdest meeting in the world.
Okay, so that was Thomas Massey on the pipe bomb thing. Now, that's what we had it out over, the counterintelligence guy, because he was coming on to do an interview about it, to tell us how many threats there were that day from just God-fearing conservatives that were there. Yeah, the whole thing was such a farce because it was so infiltrated to the point where it was mostly these guys that that were part of the feds doing what they were doing to conjure it up to make it look like there was a bunch of just average conservatives there on January 6th. But that clip was interesting because that's what we had it out about. The counterintelligence guy was like, what you don't understand is that there were pipe bombs. And I'm like, well, if they were there, they were put there by the feds. He didn't like that so much. Yeah, he was so angry. He was screaming at me. So, and would not do the interview, of course, because I was doubting him. So that was kind of an interesting one. But it was interesting that Thomas Massey was bringing this up. So it did not surprise me at all. Okay, so there was that, and I going back to that same conversation that I had with the what was supposed to be an interview with this Fed guy. I just had to say that, wow. Okay, well, you know what? Lies, more lies, and more damn lies is what we're going for. So there have been so many lies told. Remember when they said there were under 20 feds there that were dressed up in their like MAGA gear, right? The brand new MAGA gear that they broke out just for that trip. And then it came out that there were 271, okay, not 20, 271 feds there infiltrating. So all I can say is that as the truth comes out, you'll never see anything happen about all the lies that have been told for the last 4 years. You just will not ever. It's like Benghazi. You'll never see a thing happen. It's just never going to happen. So because it just won't. So that's a clip I wanted to share with you. I also wanted to share, this was kind of an interesting one. This was about sweat samples, okay, for chemtrails. So let me play this for you. I thought this was kind of interesting. Here we go. This was about taking the sweat of somebody where chemtrails have just lined the sky and then doing some, getting them analyzed. Okay, here we go.
We did some testing, and so yesterday I'm seeing these chemtrails, and today I'm in my sauna, sweating, and I want to tell everyone why. The first test that we did, Pastor, was we went and we sweated, and I sweated for a bunch of days, but I sweated and collected the sweat samples and then an engineer and sent them off to the lab and said, what's coming out when there's no chemtrails? And what we found really corroborates Dane Wigington's great work at Geoengineering Watch and also Mike Adams, Health Ranger's great work on the sky fallout. We corroborated that what's coming out of us are aluminum, barium, and strontium. But this is where it gets really exciting. The aluminum is far and away the largest short-circuiting heavy metal that we are being exposed to in these chemtrails. So with no chemtrails, the amount that came out in my sweat, Pastor, was 281 nanograms per gram. Now that's more than triple any other metal coming out. So we know that where that's still coming in from every time there is a chemtrail, and maybe I didn't sweat before that, it showed up. And now check this number out. 281 is the number, 281. Now, the day after a chemtrail, same experiment, just same sample size, everything. We collected the sweat again, 2,958 nanograms per gram. We went from 281 to 2,958 nanograms overnight, just with chemtrail days. So the first message we have to get out to everyone who loves God, we have to get this out, is that when you see a chemtrail, it is your duty to sweat within 24 hours, to get that waste that you have just breathed in, you couldn't even see it, get it out of your body before it can embed in your cell structure and start disrupting the electricity that God designed your body to flow on.
Interesting.
We did some testing, so yesterday I'm seeing these chemtrails, and today I'm in my song.
So what to do with that clip? So we've never tested that before. That's kind of interesting. And I'm left with more questions, but look, we all can look up and know that we used to get blue skies, and a lot of them, and that they're a very rare sight these days, right? And that somewhere, somehow, there are people flying these airplanes that seem to not know what they're doing. And that we're crisscrossing all over the sky, and these aren't contrails because they last. And what else are we doing up there? So there's a lot of questions, but I just found that clip to be kind of interesting because had we never thought about testing ourselves? Like, that's the first time. Is that the first time? I'm just curious. Anyway, okay. So somebody is okay. So I'm just getting a message in. Yes, Thomas Massey owns. Going back to the Thomas Massey clip, owns a wearables company, technology company, biometric surveillance. Yes, I've seen it. Yep. I have seen that. And look, I've said this so many times on the show, but again. You're not going to be able to stay in DC unless you're going to hit some of the right notes for the theater production. That's just how it works, sadly. So do I like some of the things that Marjorie says? Do I like some of the things that Thomas Massey says? Yes. But again, you're not allowed in the club, and you can't stay in the club unless there are certain things that you're doing for the club. They're just going to discard you, get rid of you. They're not going to allow you any power in those decision-making seats. So I always keep that in mind whenever I'm looking at anybody, even the people I like, because that's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. And I think that it's hard to digest that. Everybody wants to think that at least there's somebody pulling for us in government. And I'm grateful for that clip to point out that the body language was bad, and that, of course, the feds have lied and lied and lied and lied and lied. At the same time, I do know, and I've seen it over the last 15 years at least, that you can't stay in government without doing what the club wants. And it doesn't matter how much you like the person. It just doesn't matter. So there's that. I know. And I hate that, don't you? But government was co-opted a long time ago. So the parties get to decide, who gets into those spots, as we all know that the elections are completely rigged and have been for a long time. So I don't know what else to say other than there's a note of truth. What do you say? Like I said, it isn't a good theater unless you have all sides of the theater. You can't just have the bad guys. You got to have the good guys too. And right. So in any good play, in any good Shakespeare, there's always both parts, and you have to create that back and forth, right? Otherwise, people look a little too closely at what's happening. I know it sucks, but that's just how it is. Okay. Another thing that I forgot to talk about too. I'm forgetting things. So there was just so much. Can you imagine the pileup after a week that I have on my desk? Number one, I was going to tell you just a little bit about Genesis. So the final book Henry Kissinger wrote before his death, where he never seemed to get ill or cancer or anything, by the way, and he lived to be 150. Anyway, still ruling the world. No dementia there. 1 in 5 gets dementia now, and no dementia there. Interesting. Anyway, Henry Kissinger, who was at the helm of bringing in China and selling secrets to China and doing all these horrific things and coordinating the New World Order, right? He's their little puppet. Well, before his death, his latest book, Genesis, he wrote about the use of AI to reshape humanity. And he claimed that this book was the convergence of AI with biotech technology. See, now we just talked about Massey owning biotech. Anyways, opens the door to direct DNA modification, biological engineering of humanity. So I'm just telling you that we're getting these interesting things sold to us as cool. And we're accepting and allowing the building of our future as we're watching these things, and it's really creepy. So, okay, so there's that. I wanted to just kind of bring that up because a lot of people don't realize that. They don't look at the last thing that he wrote and talk about it. So another thing that I noticed with AI that I just wanted to kind of make a note of is this weird. I saw a poster of the people on the show MASH. Okay, they were talking about Alan Alda, and none of the faces were the actual faces of the actors, but they were selling the poster as a real poster of the actors of MASH. And when I talked about being confusing, and I talked about how they're really going to make people think they're going mental, because you're going to think that you remember these faces. But really and truly, it's about remembering. It's about screwing with this, because there's no reason. There are so many MASH cast pictures out there. There's no reason to come up with an AI version of it that's wrong, unless you're just screwing with people's memories. Okay. Just like they do with that. What is the thing called? Where they screw with something that happened. What's it called? Oh my gosh, I just forgot the name of it. I've done shows on it where history isn't what you thought, and things that something has changed, either the spelling of a word or the cover of a book, or oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember what it's called. That just completely slipped my mind. But it's kind of like that. It's kind of like the screwing of history. And here's the weirdest part about that. This is why I'm bringing it up. Most of the people that commented on this particular picture didn't notice that the faces were not the faces of the cast. Similar, but not the real deal. So, number one, it kind of leads you to understand that many accounts on these social media, like on Facebook, are fake, and they're not meant to point it out. They're almost meant to compound the problem by making you think that something is wrong with you, because you're the only one questioning the fact that, hey, that poster isn't real. That's not the right actors. Those aren't their real faces. They look similar, but that's not real. So there were only a couple of comments saying this is an AI poster. This isn't even real. Whereas most of the people, I'd say 90% of the comments, whether fake or not, whether it's meant to do that or not, could be, that they weren't even acknowledging that something was off about the MASH cast poster, the changing faces. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. You know, as Facebook changed to Meta and how we live in this sort of meta world, you're going to just see a lot more things where you go, now, wait a second, I swear to you that I remember this particular thing and it's not the same, and what's going on, and why am I the only one saying this? Okay. So there's that. Oh my gosh, there's just so many things like that. Okay. I also wanted to talk just for a second about housing. I told you I would. So here's some interesting insights about housing. Like, what is your gut telling you on the housing market? They're saying that it could go worse than 2008, right? So this analyst predicting that home prices could fall 50% or more next year. Interesting. Okay. So, calling for home prices to fall 50% or more. And this isn't coming from somebody that just likes to scare people. It's coming from, people that are out there just pretty, I'd say pretty decent people that are usually pretty positive, that are saying this would not be good. This is not going to be good. Like prices exploding way past the income, insurance premiums doubling, property taxes crushing, being very crushing, mortgage rates locking out buyers, that home ownership is something that they do not want us to have. And so we are over the last 5 years, 10 years really, we're at the start of getting the housing market to do what we always thought was never going to happen, and that is that it would almost be impossible to own a home. You couldn't keep up with it. You obviously could not maintain it at the prices now and the tax rate now of the taxation that you're getting to even stay in your home, and that you're going to have to either bring in renters or have somebody help you or whatever the situation is, because it's just not going to work out. So we know that, I know you know this because we've talked about it so many times on the show, where housing is going to go. And I certainly have to kind of agree with this. I really do, that I don't see great things in our future, because I know a lot of people are thinking, well, things will turn around because Trump's in, things are going to turn around. The housing market's going to get better. Just, stay ready. Don't panic, stay ready. And you're right. Don't panic. But I think it's more or less understanding where the end game is, where that goal is coming in, sadly. And it's not going to be pro home ownership for sure. They're going to try to absorb a lot of these houses. So just something for you, I guess. And it's not great news. Sorry. I wish December was full of all kinds of good news. I don't think it is today. I'm looking at all of this, and I'm looking at all the confusing messages and all the things coming out, and you guys, so not fun, so hard. And I just have to say that they don't, if we own homes, okay, I'll give you kind of a little glimpse. There was a woman, she's a total lib, okay, total leftist liberal, the kind of women I can't stand, to tell you the truth, because they're just not the brightest bulbs in the pack. Okay. I'm trying to be kind here. I can't, because they're just not very bright. And this girl was on a show, and she was talking to a radio host. And this girl was like, I know you're going to interrupt me. And I know that I'm just saying that women have been discounted and marginalized, and we didn't get the right to vote until the early 1900s. And, this is why. And so this person was bringing up the fact that, well, not all the men had voting rights either. Well, she didn't want to hear that. She didn't want to hear that at all, because that didn't fit into her monologue. So she kept trying to say that, that women are the victims of the men, and those men, those founders. I mean, you could just tell she was just had so much vitriol for the founders. Wow. I'm standing on the shoulders of the founders who created a path for all of us to have land ownership and freedom in that way. Anyway, she didn't want to give them that. Okay. They were the enemy, and women were marginalized, and women just did not have it going okay for them. And she didn't want to be interrupted. And it was so funny to me because when the conservative talk show host was trying to get her to understand that she was wrong, that she really didn't understand the whole context of history, the one thing that he left out, so what he said was, well, not everybody got the right to vote. And so it immediately went into, well, blacks didn't get the right to vote. Okay. What they didn't say was that the homeowners were the only ones, okay? Landowners were the only ones that got the right to vote. Why is that piece important? Okay. Both of them left it out. Okay. So this is how stupid the public is. They don't recognize, I hate to be mean, but they don't recognize the actual truth that wasn't spoken by either one. Okay. So you look at this woman who was a total twit, and you're going, yeah, she doesn't even understand any context about history. Then you look at the conservative guy and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm conservative there because they're going to bring out the truth, right? That it was landowners, but not necessarily. So the thing that separates us here in America from a lot of different countries, because this guy, what did he bring up? He goes, well, I'm going to name all these countries that have similar freedoms to America, okay, or have a similar system, not America's system, but a similar, not the republic, but a similar system. The thing that they fail to talk about is land ownership, home ownership. That's what they fail to talk about every single time. And I've noticed this through the years. I'm like, well, why are they not talking about this? This is ridiculous. Why are they not saying it? How important it is. And I do think it's because we are about to lose that. And we are kind of accepting our fate with it instead of fighting back. And there was some shows ago, I said, look, there's holes in the New World Order. And if there wasn't, they would have been having complete tyranny a long time ago. So there are holes, there are things to fight for. And this is one of them. And this is something that's getting ignored because why? Because the media is controlled. So why is it getting totally ignored and shoved out when it is the main truth, one of the main truths behind the fact that this is how we got our wealth. This is how you could come to this country and get past your rank of being poor into the field of the elite, is that you could invent a business. You could put your home on the line. You could put a piece of land on the line and basically secure your interest for your new company by utilizing that. And here you go. Here's your way forward. Okay. There are many countries that do not allow you to just do this. There's many countries that this was kind of the separator between us and the third world country. Okay, is that we got land ownership. We're supposed to have laws that catered to that land ownership, or at least supported it, or at least defended it, or had a government that was supposed to defend it. But we don't. Look around at all your county commissioners and all your city folks that are in government. They are more than willing to sell your ability to own property and to hike those property taxes down the river. They want, and I don't even know if sometimes because they're so idiotic, if they even realize what they're behind, if they even realize what they're doing. They're so greedy. Now, I hate using that word because the leftists love to use that word. It's all about greed, and it's not about what government's doing to do, to do this. It's all about the corporations being greedy. It's not about that. This is about the greed of getting something that is self-serving out of your stay in government, rather than doing what's right and actually sacrificing at your post, of county commissioner or city council member or mayor. It's not about doing what's right by actually serving the people. It's about being self-serving. So the next time you see somebody in government, stop thanking them for their service and just point out that they're self-serving. They're not serving the interests of the people. In fact, these are some of the people that gain the most monetary benefits, land. I mean, look at everybody in the Congress and Senate. They sure are coming out winners. They sure are coming out multi-gazillionaires. And I'm sorry, but even at this lower level of government, this county commissioner or city council member or mayor, come on, there's a reason why they fight so hard and spend so much money on these campaigns for not a lot of compensation salary wise, but because of the benefits they get to their business, the benefits they get in power, and the benefits they get in taking advantage of that power and getting monetary means through the back end. There's a whole lot of that going on. And for 15 years, I talked about city governments and how they're failing and what they're doing to us and how horrifying these people are, such liars. And I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face. But I could not get the apathy of the people to get turned around in a majority at all towards this. And so why do I not talk about it as much today or strive to do a local hour? It's because the apathy towards this. I mean, I could bring it up and bring it up and bring it up. And it wasn't making, I don't know that it was making even a dent. I don't know. And I think it's just because until the people get really stung by these people, we're not going to get anywhere until the people actually want to do their homework and want to actually make a difference in what they're doing to us. And some of the most horrifying people I know are county commissioners, total liars, city council members, mayors. And I'm sorry, but they're not helping you at all. They're not serving you. They're self-serving. They should never get the praise of being in service of the people, ever. Some of the worst people I know are legislators and state senators. And I mean, horrible people. So I'm just telling you that from my own experience that this is what I've seen. And I've interviewed countless people in these positions. And I'm telling you that 99.9% of them are the worst liars and hacks you've ever met in your life. So, and I don't say that lightly. I hate saying that because I don't even like talking about them because people don't want to see what they're truly about. And I think they'll have a lot to answer for someday. I really do, because I think some of them really do know what they're doing. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. So, and I'm trying to say that with a smile because I'm not all gloom and doom, I promise. But these are some of the insights and some of the things that I was kind of looking at and wanted to share with you today, because the messaging coming, the AI, I thought it was interesting when Dan Pena in another clip said a meteor was coming. And he was asked if it was staged. And he said, no, I think it's a real meteor. I don't know. The way that they stage stuff, I'd have to go with probably pretty staged at this point. I don't think there is a war fought since the 1700s or a weather event to be had that isn't completely manipulated. I would say 99.9% of the time. I know. Let that digest. So I know that's so bad, but I think that's kind of where we're at. I want to leave you with one more clip today, 2 minutes long, and this is about our food supply. And I'm so sorry that it's not happy. It's just not a happy piece of understanding, but it sure does kind of give you pause, because you got to think about this with our food supply, right? Because we all have had fast food, right? Okay, here we go.
It says McDonald's sells 6.5 million burgers every single day, but in his entire life, he has never seen the places that could make this possible. No massive cow farms, no gigantic rearing centers, no industrial slaughter zones capable of processing such insane numbers. It doesn't add up, not even a little. I got curious. So I went digging, and the numbers they don't just surprise you. They hit you like a punch in the chest. 6.5 million burgers a day. That's 195 million burgers every month. Now stop and really think about that for a moment. 195 million patties every single month. Where are the cows for all of this? Because look around you, you don't see millions of cows. You don't see endless fields packed with herds ready to be turned into meat. You don't see anything remotely close to what these numbers demand. Even if one...
That is true, is it not? So I have to I have to give it up for just sheer logic, because I know that we are a nation that obviously we have under 5% personal owned farms, okay, in America, where it used to be flopped. It was 95% farms, and now it's down to under 5%. They're all owned and co-opted by several entities now. So we have moved into that. So our food supply is definitely owned. But at the rate that we all eat fast food, and at the rate that these burgers are coming out of these fast food restaurants, you can't help but think the guy's right in the fact that where's it all coming from? You know, and there's a kid I know that works at a Wendy's, and the thought was that was shared was, when those burgers, you know, go on the grill, there's just this awful smell. Okay, so I'm gonna go one step further. I know, forgive me, but you guys have all noticed, right? Since 2020, like the food just tastes different. Everything's different. Okay. Campbell Soup's come out with this, hey, our chicken is 3D printed. So you're eating manufactured 3D printed chicken. It is not real. Okay. But we put enough flavoring in it, and we make it look real. So therefore, okay. So this whole thing has been coming out, and everybody's been talking about this across the nation. And the new show Pluribus, because I think there's a lot of things out there that they project into movies, but there's the Pluribus is, I think, truly about realizing that people are sacrificed for food that go into like this certain company in the show Pluribus, this fictional company where no one knows what's in this food product or in this product that creates water. But it was a chemical, so it wasn't real water. It was just a chemical water, and that but it looked real, or milk. I'm sorry, it was milk, not water. It was they were creating milk that looked like milk, and it tasted like milk, but it wasn't milk. And so in Pluribus, in this new series, it was all about finding out that the Soylent Green aspect, okay, that it's truly about people. And so I found it just so sickly, weirdly, sadly, grotesquely fascinating that you're seeing more and more of that storyline come out. Not just Soylent Green, with Heston going, it's PayPal, but what are we truly digesting here? In I think it was 2022, Applebee's, Olive Garden, everyone got bought up, I think, by the same outfit. The same couple of outfits now own most of your major chains. So even though you think you're making a choice between Applebee's or Olive Garden, you're not really making a choice, because the choice is coming from the same entity of where food is made. And we all knew that we were going to have a lot of problems with our food supply. But how deep do you think that rabbit hole goes? And what do you think we're actually digesting? And how much of it is conjured up in a factory? And I know that this thought has crossed your mind, because you would not be human, forgive the pun, if it didn't, okay? Because you're seeing this storyline, not just in Pluribus, not just in the Soylent Green movie, but just, wow. What are we digesting, you guys? What are we eating? We know there's not enough cows to fulfill 6.5 million burgers. We know that there's obvious problems with the fact that we are not seeing what's going into our food. We've known for a number of years that Gates was really busy with this Impossible beef and trying to sell us on this. And my thought has been, do I dare share this? My thought has been, my gut has been that was just kind of a distraction story, and that we truly are eating something pretty wicked and foul, and that it was made to look like a creation from a factory. That's my gut. I don't want to believe that. I already know that the abortion cells, right? The stem cells going into the flavoring that Pepsi was using, and there was a huge lawsuit. I think it was down in San Diego. There was a huge lawsuit about it. Very real thing. So they're not conspiracy theories, but look, we know there's a lot going on with our food, and we know that there's a lot of things they can put in our food. Was the vaccine thing more of keep your eyeballs on that and don't take vaccines thinking you're saving yourself from what they're doing? Or is more of it in the food supply than you think? So even if you say no to a vaccine, right, that you're still getting it, okay, in your system, you're still getting components, you're still getting things in your system, because we have to, the goal, if the goal's true, the goal is that things are done all in a way where we are sort of walking internet devices. Okay, that's the goal. You've heard people talking about this, people on this show even talking about this. So if that's the goal, then it has to be where, because I did wonder in 2021, and I voiced this on the show. I don't know if you guys remember this, if you're longtime listeners from 4 years ago, but I remember saying they would never let this cat out of the bag unless there was another vehicle or another way to introduce us to these things. Because then if it was only in the vaccines, whatever components are coming in that vaccine, if that's the truth, then they would never show their hand in showing that vaccines are that destructive. They would never let you see the sudden deaths. They would never let you in on it. Okay. They wouldn't show their hand that fast and that in such a big, vast way, unless they already had other ways and other components. So the vaccine is more of the distraction. You think you're saying no to the vaccine, so you think you're safe from this. But in reality, our society has been moved to a point where no one's really questioning the fact that only a few people own our food supply. Just a few corporations. And that those corporations could be doing a lot of things to our food supply that we don't know about. Because there would be no other way to get components, to get us to digest, to get things into our system like that would. Right? Because if you can say no to a vaccine, then that means a whole segment of society is like, And so just thoughts, right? I should have named this. Do you remember the Jack Handy thoughts from Saturday Night Live? Yeah, like that. So thoughts by Kate. When I say thoughts I have that keep me up at night, to tell you the truth. They did last night, for real. So I'm going to just leave that with you today and kind of ruminate that kind of thing. Marinate in that. Sorry. Come on. I have to have a sense of humor or I'll cry. So I just think that you always have to see the distraction. Were the towers coming down the distraction for the heist that was going on in Building 7? We're always told to look here, and it's always here. Right? Okay. So knowing that, you must question. Weekend update with Kate. Thanks, LB. I appreciate it. Yes, weekend update with Kate. The scary weekend update with Kate. So yeah, so there's that. If that's true, if that's where we're headed, where they talked about medicine being a situation where the doctor can just do his thing from his office for you inside your body. How does that happen? unless there are certain things that are digested in our bodies that make that possible. Something to think about. But the food supply, certainly, you guys have noticed that the food sucks, right? The food tastes terrible, right? It's not just me. It can't just be me. So you pull up to a fast food and you're like, the food just is not good. It is just not, it is not the quality. And then you're thinking, well, is it just the lack of workers? Is it just because everything changed in 2020. Not saying it wasn't happening before 2020. A lot of this was, especially the lawsuits about the flavoring that was going into Pepsi and all these other soft drinks and stuff, and foods. Using the aborted cells. But what I'm talking about is like everything so shifted after 2020 that you did notice that the quality went way down, right? You did notice that you're not getting the same things that you used to get. They used to take pride in the quality. They certainly are not now. Okay, so something's off. Something seems a little strange. I just think it might be even worse than we think, but that's me. I mean, I'm a glutton for punishment. What can I say? I've been studying this stuff a long time. Oh, you guys, we're in a world of hurt. But I so appreciate you guys tuning in because, oh my gosh, I don't hear a lot of hosts. I don't know that there are very many like me where we're not bought, but I just don't hear too many people covering all these same stories that we covered today. Just not hearing it. And sadly, we should be wondering why that is. People should be asking a lot more questions than turning it into a personality like fest, because that's what it's become. Do you like the president or do you not like the president? Do you like the certain show host or do you not like him? That's what it's about. I know. So one of the comments, I'm going to go back to have another glass of Merlot. Oh my gosh, I don't drink, but man, there are times in the study of all of this that I've wanted to. I'm not going to lie, I've wanted to. This is insanity. So listen, I'm out for the day. I will be back tomorrow, and Melissa's out tomorrow, but Susan will be back. And I feel so bad. That the recording over the Thanksgiving weekend of Melissa last week had some things on it that were not supposed to be on it. So I actually had to come into studio to make sure that I could fix that recording. So I'm sorry. I was so busy over the holiday weekend. I had so much family here that I couldn't get to it. So I apologize. I already apologized to Melissa. So that show actually went up. It was from 11/25/25. So the date. So it's back up today and you can listen to Melissa. But thanks for tuning in. You know, I always appreciate you guys. And I do. I really appreciate you sharing this on social media, only because you can find the viewing of this. You could see me on camera doing the show, and that's on the Facebook page, Kate Daly, the Kate Daly Show, also on X, the Kate Daly Show, also on Rumble, the Kate Daly Show, and also on YouTube. And even though the censorship ghouls are consistently after me and taking me down, that's why I don't have a big following on YouTube, because the show is constantly interrupted by YouTube censorship. So just saying that it is on YouTube for right now, but you never know. So, but it is in those other locations. Please share the visual, because the visual is something that people for some reason really like right now. I will be cutting this show into shorts so that people can share just the shorts by topic, some of the insights that I've shared today. But just, thank you. Really appreciate you. Be faithful, be fearless. You know the drill. And I'll be back tomorrow with Susan. And I'll have some stuff on France too. You know, France was threatening Candace, right? So I'll have some stuff on that too. All right, you guys. Thank you.